Our first speaker, he tells me, is transforming the Indonesian financial sector with his digital innovations for the insurer AXA. And he's going to explore capturing the experiences of consumers and increasing their engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ari Fadyl.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? It's very exciting to be here, to be sharing with you some of the exciting stuff that we have done in Indonesia over the past couple of years. And this morning, I'll be sharing about how we can use mobile apps to advance customer engagement and also get more insights. Now, to begin with, I'd like to share a short video about what we do at AXA to introduce a bit about ourselves. Okay, great. Now, our mission is to protect our consumers in the moment of need. And we have a vision to not just have insurance being sold, but actually to be bought by our consumers through their own discoveries. And we live today in a world where digital media is at a tipping point because of mobile penetration and cheap internet connection in emerging countries like Indonesia. We need to be able to adapt with the consumers. Now, there is an interesting survey done recently in the US that no matter what industry we are in, every company needs to think like a technology company. So the impact of the innovations in Silicon Valley is impacting every single aspect of the verticals that we see, especially insurance. Now, let's talk about digital transformation. It's not just about technology, but we need to adapt to the customers that are changing their behaviors. Now, if you look at maybe a decade ago, brands actually have control over the communications of the products that we sell. But nowadays, consumers are actually taking over control. They produce user-generated content, they use reviews to actually influence other people to actually buy or not buy the product. So we look at several factors on how to win in this age of customers. We begin with embracing mobile. and think about how we can become a digital disruptor ourselves while also transforming the entire customer experience. And last of all, which is the biggest topic right now, is how we can start using big data to actually do better solutions for our customers. Now, when we move into Indonesia, it's a totally different ballgame because we look at how we can use mobile to engage a hyper-social mobile-first nation. Now, you might be surprised, but in Indonesia, only 3% of the populations have any kind of insurance. So when we look at other industries like mobile or telco, it's already oversaturated. The average Indonesian has more than 2 or 3 mobile phones. So how can we engage with this population? So about 2 years ago, we started to look on how we can make health insurance affordable for the masses. And we see that the numbers are stunning. The number of internet users in Indonesia this year will reach more than 100 million people. We are actually the capital of Twitter. Jakarta is the most active city on Twitter, as well as on Facebook. So we have Jakarta and Bandung, which is listed in the top 10 cities. If some of you use Path, it's a recent social network out of Silicon Valley. That's also a leading social network right now. So when we look at the different behaviors, starting with the health needs, we look the trend is actually increasing exponentially in the amount of searches that people look in terms of health insurance keywords. If we deep dive into the different topics that people see, we look at people looking at health information, specific articles. And then there are some generic searches that people do, like health insurance. And then they move into brand-related questions. So the awareness about looking for insurance product is still very low. So we want to look at what people's needs are. And not surprisingly, 30% of all the searches come from mobile devices already. And this is in 2011. So let me throw a curveball. So does any of you know the most expensive keyword in the US when it comes to search engine marketing? Can you guess? Can anybody guess? There are no prizes yet. Okay. It's insurance, of course. So it's $54 per CPC. So that's only clicking the ad on Google search engine, not even going into the lead generation or sales. Why is this so high? Because in the West, insurance brokers are already owning the digital space. And luckily, this has not happened yet in Asia yet. So that's why we want to own the search engine by first investing on always on. Because we see that it would take about 2 to 3 months for the average consumer to actually do a purchase decision. And if we look at the channels that's influencing their purchase decision, definitely digital is #1 for insurance. And smartphone is actually the primary device that people use to actually do product research. Now, what's interesting is digital doesn't stand on its own, because if we look throughout the consumer journey, the move between online and offline channels is very seamless. So we can see here that consumers generally start offline when there is a specific occasion that they impact their lives that will drive them to research online about what solution suits their needs best. And then when it comes to the final decision, they will move into offline channels, talk to a real person to do the deal. So the question is, how can we be present at the 0 moment of truth? So Google has done this study that for any business, there are 0 moments of truth. In our case, it is the time when they do their research and sign the insurance contract, and the second moment of truth is when they actually experience the product during their claims. So our solution to this was to create an always-on content marketing strategy that is mobile first. We were able to use the data that we got from the consumers and build the first health insurance portal in Indonesia. This was done about 2 years ago. And within this portal, you can do a lot of activities, including checking the hospital's directory in Indonesia. At that time, there has not been a single site that lists all the directory of all the hospitals and the doctors in Indonesia. We also do health checkups and do branded articles to keep people coming and engaging. There's also a mobile-first application that is available that people can download from the app stores and iOS. So let's look at the case study video on how we're able to convert all this content going to mobile and ultimately drive sales, which is key in this aspect. what we did about 2 years ago, and then since then we've learned a lot on how to go beyond content. But before we move on to the gamification part, I'd like to share about how you can also use content to successfully drive sales. So first try to ensure that you understand the target audience. In our case, we understand that our target audience needs information related to health. And that's where we build the trust on solving their problems. The fourth thing is to be able to create relevant content that is contextual. And the last one is to be able to move easily from learning to buying. In our case, we created mobile apps where they are and be able to capture the leads within the application. But the focus should be more on engaging content first, and then they will move into the purchase decision. So that's a bit about content marketing. Next part is gamification. Now, let's look about how we've experimented using gamification to start engaging and also increase insights from our customers. So about a year ago, we looked at what we did in the mobile space, and it seems that we were still traditional. So we were just using one-way communication, so regular SMS blasts to our customers, but we wanted to do something that's more engaging and more innovative. So we looked at how we can communicate one of our first gamified campaigns. So essentially at that time, if you remember, there was Flappy Bird and as well as Angry Birds that was very popular. So we looked and we thought, this is amazing. Something that's that simple can actually go mainstream. And we were inspired by it, and we created the first game that is as easy to play as the Flappy Bird game. And we also looked at the paid media space. We partnered with Google Indonesia to see how we can bring that game in the paid media space, so under the YouTube homepage. So there's a short video on how we did it. Got very excited about this project, that we wanted to improve upon this and make it native on the mobile platform. So we are currently developing the second version, which is going to be available on iOS and Android. What's interesting here is we're bringing a story, not just a simple game behind it with characters from all around the world. So other countries around the world where we have AXA can also utilize the same gaming platform, where we have a global leaderboard. And what's interesting is, if you have played games on mobile before, there are certain features that you can unlock if you do certain actions. So we were inspired by it. So we are building the first built-in user data profiling engine. So if you want to unlock certain items, you would need to answer the survey that we ask. So we can build a richer CRM database about our consumers who are playing this game. So here, for example, you see that we are giving a free life token if they share with us what exactly they do on their weekend activities. So moving into the future about how app-based research methods can actually impact future insurance solution. Now, in the West, I think in our colleagues in Paris as well in the US, we are experimenting what's called telematics, which is essentially using data from many different sources to be able to produce insights and provide dynamic products that is more suitable for the consumer's needs. In this case, I'll show how gamification and big data will transform our business.
AXA,
behind this
redefining insurance.
is that for car insurance products, if you're young, if you just gotten your driver's license, you would pay a higher premium because for the insurance business, it means higher risk. But why does it happen? Why does it have to be like that? If you can allow us to actually monitor your behavior through an app, in this case, or in the future in connected cars, that data will be transferred to us and we'll be able to analyze whether your risk profile is actually high or low. So we're currently working with a lot of big data scientists, both out of Paris and Silicon Valley, to analyze this data so we can start building dynamic products. So it's called pay-as-you-go insurance or usage-based insurance. We just launched the competition on Kaggle. Kaggle is a global platform where big data scientists congregate, and we're trying to solve this issue on what profiles is actually correlating to which risk profile. So there are about 3,000 entries being collected so far, and we hope that with this data, by next year, we'll be able to provide the first usage-based insurance product in Asia. So some of the takeaways before I'd like to close the speak today is on how you at the brand level can also use this insight to drive digital transformation. First of all, with the basics, still at a lot of brands, it's still unclear who owns digital. So the first thing to do is actually clearly define who the digital lead is. It doesn't have to be a dedicated digital department. The second thing is to ensure that you provide a business case. In our case, it was the sales that we drive from the lead capture. No matter how small it is, it drives belief from the top management to invest in digital. The third thing is to build, if possible, a digital-first team. In this case, when problems arise, usually digital team will be the first one that they come to. And most importantly is to build a mobile-first team. Try to look for someone who is actually a thought leader in the mobile space who can influence people as well in the organization. Fourth is to build or create a digital champion in the board of directors. It could be a simple thing as having the management to start using Twitter or LinkedIn, but it goes a long way. If they believe in digital, it will be a much easier job for the transformation to take place. The fourth thing is there's a lot of things to be solved through the digital team. Ensure that you focus on specific things to solve, whether it's engagement or whether it's e-commerce or lead generation that you do. And the last thing is when you combine mobile and gamification, ensure that it is not standing alone. The key to successful transformation in driving sales is integration across all channels. In the end, mobile is a delivery platform that connects the online and the offline world and being able to track all these engagements into one place. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, do we have time for questions? Yes, please do. Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I need this application on the driving from Malaysia, please.
Yeah.
I have to drive there, unfortunately. Any questions? Yes.
Very interested by the concept of digital IQ within a company and particularly the board. What companies do you think have a very good digital IQ?
There was an interesting study done in Indonesia, and it's not always the technology companies. There are a lot of things that are happening in smaller local companies. The issue has always been that the information has not been shared publicly. It will be conferences like this that would encourage people to share information. But from the verticals that we see, actually, it's usually the finance sector. They are forced to actually innovate because currently it's being disrupted every single day. In the insurance sector, for example, Google is entering the insurance broker space in the US. Walmart is also playing in this space. So if we don't innovate internally, they will. So I think it's not vertical specific, but the opportunities that will come in from the disrupted sector is even higher. Yes.
Where did the ideas come from for those campaigns? Was it from AXA in Indonesia, or did it from head office? And the other thing is, have any of your competitors tried to copy you?
Yes, very, very good question. Where do ideas come from? So ideas come from everywhere. I think it would start from the consumer first, because when we ideate our campaigns, we start with the insights. So we do a lot of research based on the user behavior. So we work both with the publisher side. So with Google, there's a lot of data. You can go, for example, to a site called consumerbarometer.com. It's a global site that gives insight about how mobile is affecting how consumers actually do engagement and purchase behavior. And when we get these insights, we brainstorm quite lengthy. So we would take about 2 months between us and the agency team. And where does it really come from? I think we get inspired a lot by case studies from all around the world. And we would think about how to use those insights, the local insights, with the global case studies. And in the end, it's about failing fast, because to achieve these results, it took us many, many, many failures. So for the lead generation aspect, for example, 3 years ago, we did a campaign that generated almost no leads, right? But what's important is for us to be able to review and optimize the campaigns on a weekly basis and see how we can improve upon from the previous campaigns. So for example, from the content marketing part, we're able to see that it's not just content that people are looking for. If we look at the mobile behavior in Indonesia, they spend the most time on playing games and watching videos. So that's why we experimented with the gamification part. So in the end, it's about failing fast and learning as fast as you can.
A mobile strategy for them as well, or do you expect that people from feature phones moving that quickly to smartphones, there's no need for that?
Yes. So fortunately for us, we understand that the smartphone penetration is only 30% right now, but it's doubling every year, so in terms of growth. So our focus in the insurance sector is to target the A and B segment. And 70% of them are on smartphones. That's why from the campaigns that you see is mostly built on the iOS and the Android platform. But to reach out to the lower end sectors, we do a lot of the BTL activities. As you see, we did big events, 10,000, 20,000 people doing mass yogas, doing mass marathons. So for us, it's to build the brand awareness. But once people have a relationship and trust with us, we move them into the digital platforms. In this case, through gamification, through content, as well as through offline activities. So I give you an example of how we integrate online and offline. This is a dumb wearable, I guess. This is a wristband that we created using an NFC chip. So when you engage with us digitally, you can register using your social ID, and when you come to our event, you will get this wristband. What this wristband will do is we were able to pull all your data from our database, so you would not have to register on paper anymore. So the different booth that we get at the activation, you just need to tap on a device, and it will pull your data automatically. So it will share content to social media, and it gives us a lot of data on which engagement activity is actually performing the best and what type of consumers are actually engaging with us throughout the campaign journey. So again, there is no single method to actually engage with the low end, but in terms of business priority for us, it's definitely the more higher end sector. That's why we use a lot more smartphone and digital channels to engage with them. Yes, please.
Quick question around the strategy to take this to the global markets. And is there a priority between developed world versus developing world in terms of where it will work better, the strategies that you just described? Yes,
very good. So when we look at the different case studies from the West and take it to Indonesia, copy-paste doesn't work. So one example was working good in Europe is now all of our TVCs has integration with Shazam. So when you watch our TVC and turn on the Shazam application, it will recognize the TVC and direct it to the campaign site. So since Shazam penetration is not so high yet in Indonesia, we looked at different ways on how we can create content that's more relevant to us. That's why the gamification part is something that would work better with us. So the question is, what is the role of globalization in our company? So all these different experiments that we did in Indonesia, we are trying to take it globally in other countries that have similar characteristics. It goes back to the consumer behavior that we see. So the Crazy Cash application that we created has been adopted in Thailand and in Malaysia. And in the end, the digital organization at AXA is a very open, communicative, and very flat, where we have regular sessions to share these learnings and assets. So the role of the emerging markets, I think, will be much, much higher, because in the end, the digital evolution is coming in from Asia. There's a recent study from an article from the Harvard Business Review that actually the Asian countries are now driving the digital evolution, which includes, Indonesia, Singapore itself is moving at a very fast speed pace. And a lot of the European countries are actually lagging behind. Countries like France, they're stuck in the legacy system of desktop. So the innovations that we're trying to do around the mobile space will be highly relevant for countries who have similar consumer behaviors.
One more question? Okay. Bagus, bagus.
Terima kasih. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.